One more time. Shake it back! Does that feel good?
Yeah, it rhymes. They're both verbs.
The AFC East. First up, we have the New England Patriots, the ball deflators, the cheaters, the former New England Tom Brady's, Robert Kraft at the helm, led by Bill Belichick still. Mac Jones. What are we thinking about the Patriots this year, boy?
So as I was digging into them and their roster and their projected depth chart here, their lineup, they have given Mac Jones everything he needs. Like, this is a talented offense.
They're not spent money, that's for sure.
They're not like all pro anywhere, but they're not weak anywhere at all. I mean, getting Devontae Parker was huge. If he goes down, they drafted Tyquan Thornton, who's a burner. We'll see if Mac Jones has enough arm to use him. But
I didn't even realize they had Devontae Parker until just now. I saw D. Parker.
Yeah.
And I wasn't looking at your additions over here. And I was like, is that Devontae Parker? I thought, was he a free agent?
No, they traded for him. They traded like a 5th round pick or something. It didn't cost them much.
I like Devontae Parker a lot. I must have missed that. But yeah, and then they spent the most money in free agency history last year. They went out and got 2 tight ends. They got Nelson Aguilar. I thought they got 2 receivers last year. Did they not? Or did they cut one?
I don't recall who else they got. I don't think so. I think it was just Aguilar.
No, they got 2. I promise you.
But their whole line is stacked. I mean, Trent Brown needs to stay healthy for them, but
both very good. They have a good center. Yeah, they're a solid team. They're solid everywhere. If Mac Jones plays up to, I won't even say his potential because I don't know what his potential is, but I mean, if he's just serviceable, I think the defense is going to play well. The division's tough, but
yeah. I think their running back room is just stallions, man. Damian Harris, James White, Ramondre Stevenson, Pierre Strong Jr. Like, they're just going to rotate through those guys, and they're all real good. I love Ramondre Stevenson this year.
They have Jonnu Smith is one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. Mm-hmm. Hunter Henry is one of the best route running tight ends in the league. Devontae Parker is a guy that I've been waiting to break out for 5 years now. I think
he did break that 1 year. He had a huge year and a half in Miami. Yeah. And then he started getting injured again.
That and Miami's just never really the beacon of consistency while he's been there either. So, I mean, he's a good route runner. He's got good hands. He's quick. He's fast. Like, he's kind of got everything you would want in a number 1 wide receiver. So putting him in that X role with Nelson Aguilar opposite of him, Jacoby Myers in there, who can play the slot. Like, I don't know how much they're going to be going 3 wide receiver, but I mean, they have 3 really serviceable receivers with 2 really good tight ends, with 4 really good running backs, with a good offensive line. Like, who knows what they're going to do with this team?
Yeah, I think when they go 12 personnel, when they go heavy with the 2 tight ends, Aguilar comes off the field. Jacoby Myers plays one of the receiver spots. I don't think he comes off the field very much. I think Aguilar is more the specialist.
And Jacoby Myers can block for you too. He's a good blocker.
He's a super underrated player. He had an outstanding year last year.
Yeah, he finally got his first touchdown. I think he had the most catches in NFL history without a touchdown. It was like 278 catches before he got his first touchdown or something like that. Absolutely crazy. Then this defense should be rocking and rolling next year.
Dude, I'm really interested to see what Bill does with this defense. Like, they went out and added Jabril Peppers to 2 already high-quality safeties. They're going to do some interesting stuff on the back end with, playing 3 safeties, or I don't know what their plan is with Peppers, but that Belichick has one.
We've talked about this new, what I am foreseeing as one of the most valuable positions on a defense once a defensive coordinator figures it out, is the hybrid safety role of a guy who can cover anybody on the field, tackles like a linebacker, and can really do anything. If you need him to cover wide receiver 1, he can do it. If you need him to cover tight end, he can do it. If you need him to spy the quarterback, he can do it. Just basically do it all, like Swiss Army knife type of guy. And Jabril Peppers is like the first guy that comes to mind coming out of college in Michigan. That's like what his like defining role was like 5 years ago. It's like, well, he does everything, but he doesn't really do anything. And I think Bill Belichick is the perfect coach to get this guy on the field and just be a football player and just have him play football. You need him to cover the tight end, he'll cover the tight end. You need him to cover the wide receiver 2, cover the wide receiver 2. You need him to cover the slot, he can do that. You need him to come up and have run support, he can do that. I expect him to play a lot on this defense, and I think, like I said, I've been talking about it. Like, I feel like this is going to be one of the most important roles on a defense in the next 5 years, and I think it could really get its start and prominence in the league with Jabril Peppers on this New England Patriots defense.
Yeah. And then another thing that I really noticed here, I don't think this graphic does their defensive line rotation justice because I can only fit 3 interior guys on here. They run 5 deep on the interior. They're rotating guys through all game, keeping guys fresh. It's a really big factor to what they do.
So out of all the Super Bowls they won, like, this would be considered probably one of their most complete teams outside of like maybe 07, where they went undefeated and didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then that in their 03 season where they were just stacked everywhere on the field. This is probably one of the most complete teams they've had in the past 2 decades in their run of dominance. Obviously, they don't have Tom Brady anymore, but as far as top to bottom goes, like I can't think of a more complete Patriots team in the last 20 years. So
yeah,
I mean, Mac Jones has all the pieces to succeed right here.
So the one question mark I have with this team, well, 2 really. I have some questions on linebacker. I don't know what they're going to have there, but they always seem to figure that out. And linebacker's a spot where you can kind of get by with middle of the road guys. But my main question mark is cornerback. And now Belichick has a history of churning and turning guys who came from nowhere, like J.C. Jackson, Malcolm Butler. Actually, Malcolm Butler's back on this roster somewhere. He's not projected to start, but like he has a history of churning cornerbacks and developing them. So it'll be interesting. They drafted 2 guys this year, Marcus Jones and Jack Jones, but when Jalen Mills is your number 1 corner, it doesn't feel great. That's the one spot that is really a concern for me on their roster.
Yeah, and I'm giving Bill the benefit of the doubt there just because they've always figured it out. But I will say that division, if you're not strong at corner, you could be in trouble real quick. Mm. So, but my biggest concern with this team is what does losing Josh McDaniels do to them?
Yeah, hey, that's a great point.
Because I love Josh McDaniels going to Las Vegas. We'll talk about them next week, but I think Josh McDaniels got a raw deal in Denver. I think he did a really good job in Denver while he was there, and then going back to New England. He's been back in New England like almost 10 years.
Yeah,
and he did good his first time around, and then he got to like basically hand pick his next situation. So it's one of those deals where like we'll see how, like, we don't really know what Bill is on the offensive side of the ball. Like, we know he's one of the best coaches of all time, and like we know he's defensive oriented. Like, how much does he have to do with the run game? How much does he have to do with the passing game? Like, how much is he really involved with the offense? And I think we're gonna learn a lot about who's their offensive coordinator now. Do you know?
That's what I was about to say. There's a big mess in the New England media right now about the fact that there is no offensive coordinator. There's going to be someone calling plays. No, they haven't announced anything really. I think they brought back an old coach at one of the retreads that left New England at one point, but he's not a coordinator. He's just like an assistant. I think he's going to call plays. I forget who it was exactly, but honestly, where my gut is, when the media starts questioning Bill Belichick a ton about something, it's usually not an issue. So that's kind of where my head's at, that it's just being overblown. But McDaniels was outstanding. So, I mean, there is going to be an impact. I just don't know if it's going to be that as big as it's getting made out to be.
One thing I will say is that everybody just gave Bill Belichick a pass for drafting Cole Strange. And they're like, oh, he's one of the greatest coaches ever. Patriots don't draft well early in the draft. They find guys late. They've had a pretty good success rate at that. But they don't draft early well. And the fact that everybody was like, oh, it's Bill Belichick. He can take Cole Strange. Like, what makes you think that like this dude can like hit on like, I mean, granted, hitting late compared to hitting early, all the averages like come out and your team's still the same either way. Like if you hit as late as he does, but like they have not drafted early talent well at all.
One thing I will say, he in his tenure there, they've hit offensive linemen well. Now a lot of that has been Scarnecchia.
Yeah,
Scarnecchia, who's gone now. And it's actually probably one of the reasons they went O-line early is they're not they don't have the trust that Scarn is going to be able to develop some fifth-round kid into something. And they were going for more high-end talent because Scarn is gone. I like Cole Strange a lot. He has a reach, but I think he's a pretty safe prospect, and I think he'll do well there.
Like I said, my biggest thing about it is like nobody thought he was going there.
Right.
And as soon as the Patriots picked him, they're like, they just automatically get a pass because it's Bill Belichick. And I'm like, well, I mean, there's nothing about what the Patriots have done in the first round in recent history that's like, oh, okay, we'll give them a pass there. Like if they take a guy in like the third round or the fourth round who's like projected to like not even be drafted, that's when you're like, okay, maybe he sees something that we don't. But when you're talking about a first round talent in that top 32, it's like it's different. You're expected to hit.
You're right. It is, but also I think this is going to be a pretty easy hit for them. Player aside, you draft an interior offensive lineman with the offensive line they have.
Yeah,
he's probably going to develop pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to like sit next to Isaiah Wynn. Like he doesn't have to immediately
David
come
Andrews
in and be a
one
stud.
of the best.
Yeah, exactly. Like as long as he's not bad, he's gonna look good on film. Next to two really good guys. Like as long as he communicates well with the veterans and just doesn't get blown off the ball like Connor Williams, he'll be fine.
Yeah. So what do you think of their schedule here? We actually have the schedules this week.
Yeah. So starting out with Miami, like we'll see. We'll see about Miami. We'll talk about them here in a second. But second week, Pittsburgh, maybe a rookie quarterback, maybe Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know. So first two games immediately up in the air, but
definitely a Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe a rookie.
At least
definitely
one
a Mitch.
Yeah, definitely a Mitch Trubisky. And then week 3 versus Baltimore, I think is Miami will be a test, but going to Miami early in the year, first game of the season, I kind of throw out first game of the season out the door either way. I mean, you're never what you are the first week of the season. But I think week 3 versus Baltimore is when we're really going to see both of these teams, Baltimore and New England, and see what we're all about here. And then
can I make a prediction?
Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit in a 3-week stretch. Then Cleveland, week 6, probably Deshaun Watson's first game of the season. It's pretty tough.
Can I make a prediction about that New England-Baltimore game?
Yeah.
I think Baltimore's defensive backs are going to eat up Mac Jones. They're just going to steal his lunch.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, so you're going to have Jim Harbaugh on the road. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough early schedule. If Miami's as good as they could be, and then Pittsburgh with that defensive line, like that defense is nasty in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
If they can get their offense going, then all of a sudden you have Baltimore coming in after like you have 2 pretty tough road games immediately followed by Baltimore coming to your house and then going to Green Bay after that. And then who knows what the Detroit Lions are going to be, but like
we're not sleeping on them.
We're not sleeping on them, and they're a fucking tough team. Like that's kind of a brutal schedule to start out the season. And on top of all that, you might be going to the dog pound for Deshaun Watson's first game as a Cleveland Brown after all that.
Yeah.
Like, they They did not get any favors in their opening schedule.
I think they're probably looking at 4 or 5 wins by the bye.
Let's see. Miami, toss-up. Pittsburgh. I'll give them the Pittsburgh win. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be all that great. Baltimore.
I'll say for that game,
home.
I could see New England winning it. I just think Mac Jones is not going to look. They're not going to win pretty.
2-1 after 3. I'll say they're lost at Green Bay. I'll say 2-2. Home versus Detroit. I'll give them a win there, even though I don't love it. So that's 3-2. Loss at Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's first game. And then I think they beat Chicago, New York, and maybe lose to Indy. So yeah, like 4-4, 5-3.
Yeah, somewhere 4 to 5 wins, and then they get the home stretch after that, which is just you want to talk about brutal. The first half, their second half is just difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Jets followed by Minnesota. That's back-to-back wins. I feel like. Then Buffalo, Arizona. Arizona late in the season hasn't been nothing to write home about here in the last couple of years.
That's true.
And then we don't really know what the Raiders are. I mean, Josh McDaniels' revenge game.
Dude,
but
Bill Belichick does not have a great track record against his former proteges. Yeah, they usually know his secrets.
So after the Raiders, I mean, Cincinnati's tough, Miami's tough, and Buffalo's tough. But, I mean, they have a pretty good stretch after the bye. I mean, I think getting Jets, Vikings, Buffalo, Cardinals, I don't think that's a terrible draw after the bye.
I just think that Buffalo, Cardinals, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins, Buffalo, that's about as rough as a stretch as you're going to get next year.
It sucks that they don't get Buffalo early. If I have a tough team in my division, I want to get one of the games out of the way early. Because early in the season, you neither team knows what they are really. There's so much turnover in the NFL. Even if they keep the core, there's usually kinks to work out early in the season. So if you're the worst team out of the two, you might be able to steal one early where you can't really steal one late in the season. So it sucks that both their Buffalo games are back half of the season. But other than that, I mean.
So, what about the over here? 8.5 wins for New England. Can they get 9?
I don't know. I think 10 wins is like their absolute ceiling, but I mean, I think Vegas is really good at their job, obviously, but I think 8.5 is like the perfect number here. I'm probably not going to bet it, but if you made me bet it, I'm probably taking the over at 9 wins.
Yeah. How about playoffs? Yes or no? You got plus money on the yes. So plus 148.
If I'm taking 9 wins, so I'm taking 9-8. Does 9-8 make the playoffs? Is the real question.
I think it could. I think the AFC is going to beat the crap out of each other, and it's going to be some rough
tiebreakers.
Records. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So Cleveland will probably be a tiebreaker game if you think Cleveland gets 9 wins. Cincinnati might be a tiebreaker game. Baltimore might be a tiebreaker game. Who else? Indy might be a tiebreaker game,
Raiders.
Depending on how the rest of that division does. Raiders might be a tiebreaker game. Yeah, so I mean they have a lot of potential tiebreaker games, but I'm going 9 wins and make the playoffs. If you're making me bet it,
I already bet plus 148. Bill Belichick, give it to me.
Absolutely. Tell us what we're wrong. Tell us what we're right. Tell us what you think. Let us know. Interact with the boys. And last but not least, don't sleep on the Lions.
Squad.